Hi, Bethany Manxelo here. You have joined us for the magnificent monthly Millwall podcast, which features thoughts from the panel about what affects the beautiful game and Millwall. Enjoy!
Ready for Christmas. Hello everyone and welcome to this season's third No One Likes Us Talking monthly show. I'm your host Myles Thornton, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking monthly show team, Phil Coleman and Ted Robinson.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Evening Phil, how are you mate?
Evening Myles, great thanks.
Evening Ted, you alright mate?
Good evening Myles, yeah great mate.
Good. Phil, I wanted to come to you first because there's a shocking stat that's come to my attention. We've played 10 home games at 10 games at home this season. And out of those 10 games, we've got 2 wins and a draw and the rest are losses. What do you make of that?
That sounds shocking and it looks even worse on paper. But as an ex-player, you're told nobody's got a God-given right to win at home. Even at the Den when it was hostile in the old Den, you just got no God-given right to win a game. And for me, teams have done their homework on us. They know they've all got scouts, they've all got analysts. They know our weaknesses. They're watching us, and it just looks like they've done that homework and they know how we line up. They know how we play. They change their formations and tactics, and they look like they've stopped us having a lot of success from set pieces. They certainly sit back, and I've seen more and more teams doing this. Then they hit us on the counter attack. One team did it last year. I was down there, Huddersfield last season. They literally had 11 behind the ball in their own last third, and then the one chance they attacked, he's headed it in. And then I've seen other counter-attacking seasons. I think Leeds scored 2 goals on the counter-attack this season. Coventry Saturday certainly soaked it up and then hit us with a couple of quick breaks as well. So I think we've got to find a different way of winning games. I think we might have to go back to making sure that we're a solid defensive unit. But that's not difficult. And as I say, and some players, believe it or not, they might not feel very comfortable playing at home. When the boos are ringing around the place and everyone wants to row it out, players, they're professionals and they should know what to do and they should be focusing on the game, but they're human. And I know players, and I bet fans could tell you players that just did not fancy playing at home, particularly at the old Den. Some players might not enjoy it playing at home at the Den now. They might prefer the away games where there's a bit less pressure on them. They're not expected to win. And then that atmosphere at the Den is getting into them. But yeah, certainly some players might fancy playing away rather than at home. So, but for me, there's good sides in this division. Just think about some of the names: Leeds, Leicester, Southampton, Sunderland. Big teams, great budgets, great players. And I think every one of our games is a cup final. And as I say, if we don't get it right, they've done their homework and they can do us.
Agreed, mate. Ted, you got anything to add to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what Phil's been saying there, obviously. I mean, it's. I think one of the things now is that the way that football has changed in the way it's played and the way that the sides set themselves up, a lot of it is suited to counter-attacking football. And when you play at home, the emphasis is always on you to, attack inside, should we say. I don't think this is only a problem with Millwall. I mean, a lot of sides will sit back when they're playing away. We do the same when we go away. We play slightly differently. We showed that, Sheffield Wednesday and the wins that we've had ourselves. But the thing with us as Millwall fans, it's strange and we can't get our head around it because more often than not, we've had a fortress at home. And so it goes against the grain to be seeing us losing so many games at home. But like Phil said, this championship this year, there's stronger sides. I think we've strengthened our squad, but so has everybody else. And you've got to get things right in your own head and how you play. And at home, I think you have to change your tactics slightly. I would say, or try to. And what you do when you go away from home. But look, it's something that we've got to improve on. Under Gary Rowett, we was very much the other way round. We didn't lose many at home, but we couldn't get a win away. So until this season, that is, it's strange, but I don't think it's going to take too much to correct it. But like Phil quite rightly points out, every game that we play is a cup final. And, we have to really treat them like cup ties because you're given nothing in this division. And you've got no divine right to be winners at home. It's as simple as that. The games are out there to be won. And at the moment, we've struggled a bit to get ourselves going. The one thing in this division, more than anything, is to get the first goal on the ball. Once you get the first goal on the ball, then the opposition come out a little bit more at you. And so, again, it reverses it. You can counter-attack them. But listen, I'm hopeful that Joe, within time, will sort it out. And we'll be back to them good old days of seeing us win 59 games at home on a trot.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Miles, Ted, I also think our success last year and the year before, we're punching. We are punching. We're sitting there in the playoffs. We only just miss out. The expectations kick in for this season. We get some new players in. There's changes to the playing staff, and I can think of Cuffy Norton. I can think of Denori. These guys, Nisbet, they've come in, so that changes the dynamic. And then all of a sudden, there's injuries as well. Well, that is tough for any manager. You get some top players go out injured. One of them, I thought Brian would have shored up that left-hand side coming in from Fulham. These players are injured. So changes, new players, and then all of a sudden you get a new manager. So I wouldn't say it's been the best, 10 weeks to a season in terms of settling in new players. The expectations are sky high after last year. We're going to get in the playoffs again. No, we're not. The league's even tougher this year. And then obviously you get new players and they're trying to settle in and injuries as well. So I would say it's not an excuse, but there is some disruption there over the last 10 weeks, particularly the last 2 or 3 weeks. But it all adds up.
Yeah,
so it might be the opposition.
I agree. I agree. I still believe we've got a better squad this year than we had last year. I think we've made some good buys in the summer and that. But like you say, what people haven't really spoken about is, as you quite rightly point out, the disruption that's gone on to the team with injuries and one thing and another. No sooner Nesbitt was here, he gets injured. Joe Bryan just begins to play at his best, gets injured. Hutchinson, who's a stalwart of our defence to a certain extent, he gets injured. All these things are, it upsets the team, doesn't it? And we just need a settling down period, I think, where there's a time where we have continued full squad to pick from, and we'll be fine, I think.
Yeah,
definitely a stronger squad this year.
Yeah, 100%. I've seen people saying we ain't got the players to do this, we ain't got the players to do that. We've probably got the strongest squad we've had. Well, we have got the strongest squad we've had in years this year. What do you mean we don't have the players to do this and that?
Well, that is it, Miles. We haven't when they're injured. Duncan Watmore's another one springs to mind.
Yeah.
Leonard, he was in a rich vein of form, and then all of a sudden he's out for 2 or 3, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
It all disrupts the team when it's settling down and when it's starting to sort of build any momentum that we've had. Something seems to have happened and we've lost players, and that's just something that you have to get on with. We all know that. But with all the people, I agree with you. I've had a few of them say to me, we need to get to January and get people in. Well, I don't think he's inherited a bad squad. I just think we need a little bit more luck in the injury front and, get a few games together where we could literally pick the same side or the side picks itself, whatever way you want to put it round, and I'm sure we'll be fine again.
There's so many dynamics to a team. You build partnerships. Centre backs build a partnership with their fullbacks. Centre backs build a partnership with the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper builds a partnership with the whole of the defence. The midfield, the strikers and the wingers, you build little partnerships where there is overlaps, or I'll stay and let the winger do his stuff. And you need to understand how it all works in this jigsaw. And it's even worse when you're trying to defend, because you've got some defenders who are really quick, some defenders who are slow, some want to drop off, some don't want to mark, they want to sweep, so to speak. And it's putting all that together into a cohesive team that everybody knows. And I keep harping on about 87, 88. I couldn't get in that side, but every single player on that pitch and every single fan on that pitch probably knew what the players were doing. You knew Brian Norton was a great shot stopper. You knew the 2 fullbacks, nobody would get past them. You knew our 2 wingers would get past the opposition. you knew Tony Cascarino and Teddy Sheringham had a partnership, one near, one far, get crosses into them, one's at the back stick, one's for the knock. Hurlock would come steaming through from midfield. Putting that together and then having competition for places in the dugout, what I don't see too much competition for places across the back four. So injuries, Leonard, Hutchinson, they would be two key misses for me. Harding's got his chance of coming, looked absolute quality. But it's putting it all together. It's putting all the jigsaw puzzle together and saying there's a cohesive team that they know everything backwards. They know the set pieces. They know what we're going to do defensively. We've got different patterns of play up front. And it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time. And for me, disruptions absolutely kill you. They kill your momentum when you just got everything bedded in. And then you pray that the guy coming off the bench just seamlessly transitions. But I'd probably say Billy Mitchell is not Denori. Denori is not Saville. They're all slightly different. So it's understanding their roles in the team as well. So not easy. But it hasn't helped, that's for sure.
That's an example, Phil, the midfield. When you think about it, we had Alan Campbell come in, and it seemed to be he was the first choice to go alongside Denori. Denori was new to the team. They seem to be settling down a little bit, and then all of a sudden there's a change of manager. So in comes George Saville. Now, I like the look of the Saville-Denori midfield, if you know what I mean. I think they complement one another pretty well. But it is still a bedding in time for them. They've only played a couple of games together. So, as we say, as what we're talking about, there's a perfect example there. Alan Campbell, who's come to this club, he may not get a look in again. He might not be fancied by Joe Edwards. Billy Mitchell's got to bide his time. And when he gets the opportunity, he's got to, show that he should be the number one in the middle of the park. But again, it's all a matter of knitting together. Like you quite rightly say, Phil, every team is a matter of partnerships across the pitch. And I still think this squad is still trying to find their way with it. George Honeyman's another one. All of a sudden he's back in, but he's missed most of the season. So he's finding his way, The continuity of the team from the start of the season to now has been literally non-existent, So I still think there's much better times ahead for this team. And let's hope we do what we used to do with Rowett, which has come good at the next part of the season.
We'll take a break there and hear from myself and Stan Godwin talking about local non-league side Bermondsey Town. Bermondsey Town, you heard of them?
I have, but what about then?
They're a football club based in Rotherhithe. They're currently members of the Kent Football League Premier Division and play at the St Paul Sports Ground, Salt Road. They ground share with Fisher on match days. It's where the Millwall Lionesses, Romans and Pride play on Sundays.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, if Millwall are away, I'll get along.
Check out the fixtures and details on the Bermondsey Town website.
I will. I'll give it a go.
Since the last monthly show, there's been big changes to the club. You mentioned before a new manager. Well, Gary Rowett stepped down from his role as the club's manager by mutual termination of his contract, and the Lions board appointed former England and under-21s head coach and former Chelsea backroom staff member, who was in the backroom staff during their 2021 Champions League win, Joe Edwards. Ted, what do you make of the appointment?
Look, it's a sort of fashionable appointment in a sense, and I'm all for young people in whatever form, whether it's players or managers. He's got a very good sort of pedigree, shall we say, in the background of clubs, and seems to be highly thought of from different people. I think we all understand that the step up from where he's been to what he's doing now as head coach or manager, whatever way you want to call it, is a big step. There's always sometimes people are more suited to being the second man or being the assistant. There's been plenty of really good coaches that haven't been great managers, So time will tell with Joe. I'm all for giving him a go, and hopefully he can bring his ideas into this squad. Because I think, to be honest, Gary Rowett had lost his drive at Millwall. There was lots of things going on in the background. We all know there was a bit of a campaign by the fans because they thought the football was a bit boring and all that sort of stuff, which I never thought. But what I've noticed in the first 2 games that Joe's had, we are changing our style in a sense, because to have 62% possession, as we did on Saturday against Coventry, is a complete change to how it was under Gary Rowett. We seem to have 40-odd% at the most when we was playing sides. But it doesn't matter to me, Myles, about how you play, with what possession style of play. We all like to see lovely football being played. It's all about the result at the end of the day. It's getting that result. So I think you've got to give Joe time. He's certainly trying to get some ideas into them already. He seems to have given the boys a bit of confidence, even despite the defeat on Saturday. They seem to be more confident with themselves on the ball. So he's obviously trying to get them to play. But it's any manager coming in to Millwall, whether it would have been Joe, who's not a very experienced guy, or whether it had been someone like, what was the guy we was looking at, Jones, who's done it before with another football club. It's still a gamble. There's nothing guaranteed. Some managers are suited a club, some ain't. We all thought Holloway was going to be a good appointment. It turned out to be a terrible one. So I'm just hoping that Joe can eventually show us with his time here that he deserved to be put up to being a head coach. He's got all the credentials to be a very good head coach. And let's hope he goes on to prove it.
Well, you've took the words right out of my mouth there, Ted. Phil, what would you like to add there?
I'm going to say something that a certain percentage of fans won't like, but Joe Edwards has got some big shoes to fill. Because if I touch back on Gary Rowett, he kept us in this league. We had success. It might not have been the ultimate success of getting promotion, but when you're sitting there, Millwall Football Club, in a really tough. Listen, the Championship is the second tier of football. It's the best second tier of football in the world. There's 30,000, 35, 40,000 crowds. And Gary Rowett got us up into the playoff areas. We're in the top half for 4 seasons, probably overachieved, with a solid, hard-working team. For me, he got in better players season on season. It was really great to see 4 better players come in, another 5 better players come in. He got some good loans in the back 4. And with those playoffs, as I mentioned earlier, I think it created higher expectations. Now, moving on, you appoint Joe Edwards. Nowhere near as experienced as Gary Rowett in the nitty-gritty of the Championship football. A gamble or brilliance from James Berylson. As you said, Ted, time will tell, because it's a bloody big jump from an assistant manager and an under-21s manager, because now Joe Edwards he's in charge. He's in total charge. He's now in charge of all the signings. He's going to release players. He's in charge of the training, the tactics, the substitutions. He might even be in charge of the diet, the warm-up. He might change it all. They're all his decisions now. Does he lack a bit of experience? Probably. Is he highly rated? Listening to people and reading what people have said. But as you mentioned, Ted, fans are going to have to be patient. They're going to have to support him, and he's going to need time. And by time, I mean he will probably need at least 2 transfer windows, loads of time on the training ground. But the games come so thick and fast. And at the moment, some of the players, it will be rest, recover, play again. Good news is, as we mentioned earlier, the injured players are coming back because he needs those players in. He may well need to get rid of some players because the way that he's trying to play, you're probably going to find a few players out. You're probably going to find out some players cannot play his possession-based football, trying to get higher up the pitch. So some might have to leave because they can't buy into it. They physically, technically can't get into it. I would probably say right now his objective is staying in this league whilst he builds what he wants, because it is a tough one to transition. We can have 100% possession, or 99% possession. The opposition get 1 and score. So it's going to take time, and I think fans are going to have to be patient. Some of them got their will; they got what they wanted. Gary Rowett left, and they've got a new manager. And the expectations are that we're probably going to pass pants off teams and win easily. well, commentary just gave us a little kick in the teeth to say, just take your time and be patient and give him more time. But I wish him well, and he comes highly regarded. But as I keep on mentioning, time and time I come on his show, the Championship is a tough old league, and you got to win games, and it doesn't matter how you win them, through route one, through crosses, through set pieces, or through possession-based football. You've got to win games, and I would say right now, staying in this league is a priority. How he does that is a tough one, but I wish him well. I really do. And if he can get the team playing and scoring goals, he'll have done incredibly well to follow on from the last 4 years.
That's a problem, Phil. I mean, patience is the key, as we say. But the problem for Joe Edwards, I think, is he's got, as you've made the point really, but it's a tough act to follow. What Gary Rowett achieved, I think people don't really give him the credit for. And the trouble for Joe Edwards is he's going to be gauged against that. People are just naturally thinking, because we got that close to the playoffs last year, one game or one half of football away from being in the playoffs, they think, change of manager, we should be doing better than that. Well, it might well just show up how good Gary Rowett was and what he actually achieved. Like you say, I don't think nobody's recognised his achievement, really. But I hope and pray that Millwall fans give Joe Edwards the time to put together this side, because, as you say, I would say now at this moment in time, the ambition has got to be to stay in this division, number one, with hopefully Joe Edwards getting all these ideas and perhaps a few players in that he wants, a few players out that don't want to be here, and all that sort of stuff. And next year he'd be ready to have a right go at it. But I still think there's a lot of players in this side that will make us capable side and a good enough side to give it a go this year. But it's how quickly Joe can get it through and how patient our fans are going to be, because he's got a very high standard to try and match.
You've got Gary Rowett's squad. And Gary Rowett's squad was coached and conditioned and tactics and set plays into what Gary Rowett wanted. Now Joe Edwards has come in and they've got to transition into what he wants. And I'll promise you, some people will go and some people will stay and manage and adapt and buy in and be capable on the training ground and in matches in the Championship. Some people won't. And I've had experience, and we harp on it time and time again, but Millwall Football Club at one stage in 1979-80 had the best youth team in the whole country. But they brought Peter Anderson as the new manager. He didn't want any of us. So I'll give you an example. Paul Robinson was replaced by Phil Woolman. One was 18, one was 30. So A manager and B manager changes. B doesn't want what A's previously had. There will be changes, but that takes time because we have transfer windows now. You can't just buy and sell whenever you want. So you've got to wait till January, and then you've got to wait till the summer while staying in this league. And he will be working it out. Oh, he can't pass the ball, and he looks under pressure, and he can't find space for me. Oh, and he's got no pace at the back, and he's not really what I'm looking for as a striker. And it will take a lot of time, and it could take 2 years to completely and utterly rebuild and shape what he wants. But hopefully it's a lot quicker than that, because I agree, Ted, there are quality players in this side. If I've seen the likes of Harding, he does it for me as a defender. Denori, Norton Cuffy does it for me. I love Watmore because he terrifies me because he's quick. So there are players in that team that have got the capability of playing in a possession-based football team and holding their own more than enough.
You say that, mate, about it could take 2 years, but you hope it's quicker. I also hope it's quicker because managers or head coaches don't get much time in football these days, do they?
No, not at all. And I'll give you one. I'll give you one, Myles, Ted. The next 4 games, I would like to be playing Ipswich, Cardiff, Sunderland, and Leicester, and there's only one of them at home, and they're all in the top 7-ish.
Yeah.
Cardiff have crept up there, so they're doing something right. Leicester, Premier League side, Sunderland bought great players, Ipswich top of the league. These are tough away games and one at home, but the next 4 games are going to find them out. But they're coming thick and fast. It's almost Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. They're coming thick and fast. So there's not a lot of time on the training ground to let them recover, have the massage, do the stretches, and then right, we've got to start bit pack. And I want it done like this, and I want it done like that. So he hasn't got an awful lot of time, but he has got some experienced players. I will say that there's a lot of experience in that team now, and it may well be that the younger players might have to bide their time again, because you've got to focus on getting a settled side that buys into what he wants. So some of the fans that keep calling for the young lads might have to hold on for a while.
It's funny though, Phil, like you say, quite rightly, tough games coming up now, 3 of them away from home. But the way we've been playing so far this season, that might not be such a bad thing.
I get 9 points, yeah.
Against good sides. And I actually said to a mate of mine walking out on Saturday, and he goes, "Oh, bloody hell, we've lost 3-0. I said, "Do you know what? We've got Ipswich on Wednesday night. And if ever I was going to have a bet on Millwall, it would probably be Wednesday, because they'd be so priced out because Ipswich are flying and going so well that you'd probably get the best price you could ever get on Millwall winning a game." And the thing is, in my brain, they are capable of beating Ipswich at Ipswich. And so it is a strange one. But like you say, if you look at the games and you study them too much, it frightens the life out of you, really. But I'm sort of confident that within them games we can get going and get a few points.
It's exactly that sort of game, Ted, because everyone was shouting Rowett out and booing him and everything else. And I'm thinking, Plymouth away. Plymouth totally unbeaten. And we've just been done. And I don't gamble, but I went in the betting shop and I done Millwall to win away Plymouth 2-0 and 3-0. Happy days. I picked up a load of money. And I don't gamble. But you get a gut feeling, and you're right. Some of these away games, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we went away and got a 1-0 at Leicester or something stupid like that, because this league, as I keep on saying, everybody can beat everybody. The top teams will carry on like your Burnleys. They just plough through. They don't often lose many. Leicester will probably be like that, but I think everybody else, West Brom last night turned Ipswich over. Everybody can beat everybody, so it wouldn't surprise me. Our away form could be better than our home form, as we said earlier.
Yeah, I said I was going to say earlier, but I completely forgot. You've just reminded me. We've obviously lost to Coventry 3-0. We could go beat Leicester 3-0 in a few weeks. Like, that's how mad this league is. Like,
well, you look at Leeds the other night. Oh, sorry, Myles. I was going to say, look at Leeds the other night. Rotherham, you'd have, if Phil's not a betting man, but if you was betting and you spoke to Phil before the game, he'd say, the way Leeds played at Millwall, they're going to walk that. They must do. Rotherham are struggling and all that. But in the finish, they was lucky to get a point. They could have quite easily lost the game at the end. So it is a strange old league, but that's what makes it so good.
We'll take a quick break there and hear from our sponsors, Dean Wilson, Family Funeral Directors. Hello, Dean. Myles here.
Hi, Myles.
Hi, mate. Your funeral directors are famed for caring for Millwall families. Where are you located, and how far afield have you travelled to accommodate the needs of families?
Well, we've got 2 branches. Our main one's in Eltham, in Wellhall Road, and we've got another one in Locks Bottom, which is near Alpington. Millwall fans all round us. We cover all areas, and we do travel for families. We had a lady very recently that passed away up north, but it was her wish to come back to South London for a funeral, so that's what we did. We went up to Sheffield and we brought her back. We quite often carry out funerals for Millwall families all over South London and Kent, right down to the south coast.
Dean Wilson, Independent Family Funeral Directors, caring for Millwall families, no matter how near or far. Should you need them at any time, ring 0208 33 11 111. That's 0208 33 11 111. I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking monthly show team of Ted Robertson and Phil Coleman. Many thanks to Dean Wilson for sponsoring our monthly show. Well, we've just spoken about Joe Edwards coming in as our head coach, and of course, with every change in that aspect comes with a change in the style of play. Edwards kicked off his tenure with an emphatic 4-0 win away to Sheffield Wednesday, but his first game at the Den wasn't so nice, as Millwall lost 3-0 at home to Coventry, and as Phil said earlier, there were sounds of boos. What do you think, Phil?
A great start away, Sheffield 4-0, and then you come back down to earth, and that's typical of this league, as we just spoke about. Going for more possession takes time, and we're trying to play higher up the pitch. But for me, the Coventry game, that opened us up for counter-attacks, and it wasn't good watching on Sunday morning when I'm seeing Coventry players just sprinting towards our back four, and our back four hastily retreating to the edge of the area. and we're conceding. But what disappointed me, I think I listened to Joe's comments the other day. There are certain non-negotiables in football. When I say that, I mean footballers have to work damned hard. You work hard off the ball. You work hard defending. You got to mark tight. You've got to get to the knockdowns. And I just felt we didn't do some of that stuff on Saturday. Now, they're easily remedied. This is not about possession football and creating chances, which is the toughest thing in football. Creating and scoring chances is the most toughest thing in football. That's why you spend £100 million on strikers and more. But you need to get the knockdowns. You need to defend from a corner. You need to stop a counter-attack. Even if it means you pull the fella back on the halfway line and take a yellow card. Somebody has to go and close the shot down. And I didn't see any of this. So I got an impression that this team was trying to play football, trying to implement what the manager was, but we perhaps forgot some of the basics. And I saw Coventry attacking speedy strikers running at our back guys. And the third goal, I mean, just take a look at the corner. The guy gets across Cooper at the near post. They all miss it, and it's a tap-in because we weren't alive to the second one. The first one's near post, goes to the tap-in. Bart makes a save. We didn't get the knockdown, the rebound. So certain things we have to tighten up on whilst trying to play the possession and create the chances. So I think it was a bit of a loose game in defence. But as I say, 60-odd possession attack, couple of chances, which another day you need to take your chances. If you only, Brian Clough was a legend in the game. We need to keep a clean sheet, and if we score one, we win 1-0. And that's how he won the European Cup. That's how he won the league with unfancied Nottingham Forest back in those days. And I think sometimes you just have to have a solid base, keep it tight. This is what we do when we're defending. This is how we stop counter-attacks. And this is how we try to play and create. And there's a bit of for me, Coventry was a bit of a mishmash, trying to play, but we also gave away some sloppy goals, particularly from that corner. I don't like seeing corners go in. They can be defended better than that. So disappointing, but you win one, you lose one. And I just pray that the fans just are patient and keep supporting him as this transition takes place.
We can only hope with Millwall fans. Ted, anything to add, mate?
Yeah, well, I mean, Phil's 100% right in what you're saying there, but the style of play on Saturday, I mean, I was, again, walking out the ground and the guy said to me, do you know what? That game today could have been 6-5 either way. Because we did have a few chances. When George Honeyman hit the bar come post, it was 0-0. If that goes in, the game might have been completely different. It might have been us that was winning 3-0. But there was chances, sort of. I totally agree with Phil about us looking too open, but I think we looked open with the setup that we've got before Joe Edwards came in. So I personally would like us to go back to a back three because I think we haven't got the defenders to play with a back two because like in the centre half positions. I mean, because they tend to be a bit wide, and it seemed to me like there was a man-for-man marking thing going on, but. We are a bit vulnerable to anything that goes over the top of us, and we was tending to play with quite a high line as well on Saturday. I just think the players that we've got, we're better suited to having a back three, whether that means Leonard comes in or Hutchinson comes in to make a back three, or he moves Murray Wallace in closer. You've got Longman and you've got Norton Cuffey that can play as wing backs. I just think we would be, as Phil was saying, we need to be a bit more solid, and I think we would be if we was playing that way. And I think we would have a stronger base to play the type of football that Joe Edwards wants to play with it like that. So, it's up to Joe Edwards to decide how he wants to play, if he wants to stick with it the way it is. But I think if he sticks with the way that we've been playing in the first two games, we continue to go along the stretch where we've won 4-0 one week and we've lost 3-0 the next, because it's a very open style of play that I can see that he's bringing to the team. I totally agree with what Phil was saying, because Brian Clough's the greatest manager that has ever been in my eyes, and he knew how to win football matches, and that's what it's about. It's about winning football matches, not about looking pretty or keeping hold of the ball, and it's about winning. And the possession has to have a purpose to it, and that purpose is to score a goal. And I'm all for it. I'm all for knocking the ball around. But I do think with the players that we got, unless he changes in some way or the other, we bring players in January and that, I would think we'd be better off going to a back three and having wing backs to play this style of football. I think we'd be a lot more solid if we'd done that. But it's up to Joe, and we'll see what happens. We could go to Ipswich and it could be 3-0 to us, playing in the same way that he's played on Saturday. But I like to see open attacking football. But if we do that and play the way we've been playing, there may well be a few defeats along the way.
You mentioned something, we were higher up the pitch. Well, that lends itself to a counter-attack, as I mentioned earlier. When your defenders are watching your teammates knock it around in the opposition's half, they've got 50 yards behind them to the goalkeeper. And I'll tell you now, if we're going to do that, teams are going to exploit the space in behind us, or they're going to counter-attack and run it out back 2-3. So we need a tactic, not only to keep possession and score goals. If you're going to play... I watched Tottenham the other day, and they play a high line. Liverpool, when they won the title, played a high line because they're damn quick centre-backs. And you can knock it over the top, and they got there first. And I've played in back fours where... I played in one team where we thought we were the quickest back four in the country, and we were happy to push right up the pitch because they launched it in behind, and we always got there. Back in the day, you could pass it straight back to the goalkeeper. But if you've got defenders that are not as quick, and I mean Wallace and Cooper there, so I'm naming names, you might have to change them. You might have to have quicker defenders coming in. Or you have to have a tactic which says as soon as the opposition get the ball, we close them down and keep them pinned in their half, like some of the other teams in the Premier League do. Or we say, let them have it, and we'll run back as fast as we can. But if you get back to the edge of your area as fast as you can, you better be tight because they cannot break through the middle. You have to force them wide. So I saw the defenders were wide open and there were spaces either side and straight through the middle. So you've got to have a tactic on defending the counter-attack. So that's I'm concerned about the pace at the back. It could be exploited, but we will see. We've spoken a lot tonight about time and, again, time on the training ground and changing the personnel. That all takes time, but we will see. We will see.
Well, on Saturday, Phil, you named names, Murray Wallace. Now, I like Murray Wallace. He's a good, solid defender. That's, he will give you a game every time he plays. But the guy had him on toast on Saturday. Pace-wise, he was done. And I've not seen him look so exposed like that for quite some time. And I do believe it was because of the way that he was being asked to play. So I agree. I think, I'm hoping that Joe Edwards is sitting there seeing that and working out what he thinks is the best thing to do with these players that he's got, what will suit them the best. And, because I think he needs to do that at this time because he has got Gary Rowett's squad. He has got a team that, like you quite rightly pointed out earlier, Phil, has been ground with what Gary Rowett was expecting and to play that sort of way. So to change it, and it is a change and you can see the change and it is leaving us more exposed, it will take time for them to either get it or they're just not capable of getting it. So again, time will tell with that. But I just feel, and I've always felt, and I didn't understand when Millwall fans were moaning about it before, saying it was defensive. 3 centre-halves is not defensive if it's played the right way because you've got wing-backs pushing on and you're literally leaving 3 at the back. So it could be even more attacking in my eyes. And I just think we've got players more suited to that formation. But they didn't employ me, they employed Joe. So I'll leave it up to Joe.
Great point, too.
Let's take a break there and hear from a good friend of mine, Harvey Brown, talking about the Lions Food Hub.
Hi, Harvey Brown here. I am proud of the Lions Food Hub, which is jointly owned by Kelly and Ellen Webster, and they have been supporting families within our community for over 2 years on Millwall match days. If you would like to donate to them, they have a match day donation hub by the SE16 bar at Coleman Lane, end of the ground, where they accept any food or money and toiletry donations. If you can help, any donations will be received with thanks.
I'm your host, Myles Thornton, and with me I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Phil Coleman and Ted Robertson. Don't forget to bring your items for the Lions Food Hub before the game against Sunderland, or any game at home this season for a matter of fact. You can hand them in or even make a donation at the hub to the left of the Coldblow Lane stand, as you heard from Harvey there. We've reached the end of our third monthly show of the season, and we really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for coming on, Phil.
No problem. Enjoyed it as ever.
Cheers, Ted. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Cheers, Miles. I just want to finish off, Miles, just quickly saying, listen, the way we're speaking here, this is the greatest time to be a Millwall fan at the moment. Some of the best games coming up. I just thought when Phil was mentioning the next 4 games coming up, let's enjoy it. Let's make the most of it, because it's far better than being League One, I've got to tell you. I am loving it, and we just sort of let Joe do his thing, and hopefully it'll all come right. Just get behind the Lions and let's keep cheering them on.
Exactly that. And thank you very much to those listening on our third monthly show of the season, sponsored by Dean Wilson's Family Funeral Directors. Our next show will be the weekly Millwall fan show, hosted by myself, with a panel of Dawn Turley, Dave Hart and George Lampy. Thanks for listening.